welcome to High Cheese. It's Friday, February 24th, 2023. Now listen, I'm not going to have a show this week, but I'm going to leave you with some little vignettes, some little clips of some of the highlights this week. So I hope you like them, listen to them, and have a good week. And I will talk to you next week. Thank you.
Jim and Marie, the U.S. and its allies are committing more support for Ukraine at the one-year mark since Russia invaded that war-torn country. And today, the White House announcing a multi-billion-dollar aid package to help Ukraine defend itself.
Together, we've committed nearly 700 tanks and thousands of armored vehicles, 1,000 artillery systems, more than 2 million rounds of artillery ammunition, more than 50 advanced launch rocket systems, anti-ship and air defense systems, all defend Ukraine, and that doesn't count the other $500 million we're announcing with you today and tomorrow. That's going to be coming your way. And that's just the United States in this piece. And just today, that announcement includes artillery ammunition for HIMARS and howitzers, more javelins, anti-armor systems, air surveillance radars to help protect Ukrainian people from aerial bombardments. Remind us that freedom is priceless. It's worth fighting for as long as it takes, and that's how long we're going to be with you, Mr. President, for as long as it takes.
We'll do it.
Responsibility for fomenting the Ukraine conflict, for its escalation, and for the increasing number of victims lies entirely with the Western elites. And of course, the current regime in Kyiv, for which Ukrainian people are essentially strangers. The Western elites do not conceal their goals, as they say. It's a direct quote: to bring Russia a strategic defeat. What does it mean? What is it for us? It means to end us, once and for all. It means that they plan to turn a local conflict into a global confrontation. We understand it exactly like that. We will react to it accordingly. This is because, in this case, it is about the very existence of our country. However, they can't be aware that Russia cannot be defeated on the battlefield. So they conduct more and more aggressive information attacks against us.
Потому что в этом случае речь идет уже о существовании нашей страны. Целью выбирают прежде всего, конечно, молодых.
As the prime target, they choose, of course, younger people and our young generation. They turn historical facts upside down. They don't stop attacks on our Russian culture, our Orthodox Church, other religions and organizations of the country. Look at what they are doing with their own people. They destroy the notion of family, destroy cultural and national identity, abuse of children, even pedophilia are pronounced as normal, the norm of their way of life. I'd like to say to them, look at the Holy Scripture, other holy books. It's all said there, including the fact that family is the union of a man and a woman. But even those sacred texts are being reviewed now. It's just been announced that the Anglican Church plans at this point to look into an idea of gender-neutral God. What can I say? May God forgive them, for they have not known what they do.
No doubt Nigel Farage, joining us from London, says would notice the same thing. But Nigel, we basically heard what we always hear when two leaders get together, but essentially 4 days from now is going to be the anniversary. 4 days from now is no sign of anything easing up. Instead, more money, more resources, more resolve.
Well, that's right. And of course, Biden gave an inventory there. Well, a lot of countries are now running out of equipment because they've sent so much to Ukraine. There's even a shell shortage, which takes us back to 1915. So no mention of that munitions problem because it's very, very acute and very, very real. No mention of any risk of escalation. And this continued narrative, and yes, of course, the Ukrainians have been brave, but this continued narrative that somehow Ukraine is winning. And this seems to be something Western media want us to believe. Look, for Putin, this is now an existential war. He is not going to give up anytime soon. I suspect this war is going to last for many, many years. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, the Zelensky idea that we're going to help him retake Crimea, I think that's frankly for the birds. On Biden himself, I was astonished that he advertised the number of times that he's visited there. I even thought Hunter, his son, who was earning so much money out of Ukraine, might have got a mention. And funny, isn't it, that both of the impeachments of Donald Trump were to do with Biden's activities in Ukraine. So maybe that will help raise a few more questions about this man's past.
Do you know we could end this war today through diplomacy, but our politicians want to enrich weapons manufacturers so they keep donating to them to the tune of $100 billion. Chris Hedges has called America a mafia state. Systems of governance that are seized by a tiny cabal become mafia states. The military-industrial complex and the Ukraine war represent an orgy of looting and corruption.
The UN Security Council had a meeting yesterday, and Ray McGovern spoke to it. He is a former member of the CIA, and he testified in support of Seymour Hersh's article on the United States bombing Nord Stream pipeline. If it is proven that the United States bombed the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, as has been asserted by Seymour Hersh and his article, will you call for the United States to acknowledge and admit that that was an act of war against Germany and Russia? And I'm asking this because this may be the only way to prevent the rest of us from being killed in a thermonuclear war. And I don't want to be fried. Don't you think the media should be reporting on whether or not this is true? And don't you think you should be inquiring into whether or not this is true?
Well, thank you for the question. One, I've got no information to suggest that the United States was involved in bombing the Nord Stream pipeline.
Because you weren't briefed on it.
Sir, you got your chance to ask a question.
So you gave me an opportunity to respond.
You weren't given information because he explicitly says you weren't briefed on it. Right. Shouldn't you inquire?
So here's what I'll say about, I think, President Biden's leadership generally as it relates to the Ukraine and Russia.
We committed an act of war. What are you doing to respond to that? We have to hold Biden accountable. So listen, you're from Brooklyn, right? You know when to call bullshit when you see it. So do I. This is bullshit right now. And I see what's happening right now. That does not silence me. You can hear me right now. I want you to say something about the bombing, because we're all going to die from a nuclear war right now unless you stop it and you at least put and inquire into whether or not it's true. This war in Ukraine is going to leave us all dead. So what are you going to do? Because you need to inquire. I'm a New Yorker too.
Here's what I'll say.
Say it.
We're going to continue to stand with the Ukrainian people.
Do not do that. You will end us all dead.
In this war against
Vladimir Putin. Peace. We need talks.
Because
why are you sabotaging talks? Do not put your hands on me. We need peace talks. I am not going to take this. We need peace talks. You are leaving. Listen.
Democracy.
Did you even read the allegations?
And autocracy. It's a battle between
how about accountability?
Not airheadedness. And it's a battle between
tyranny
and freedom. And democracy, truth, and freedom will prevail. And the United States is going to have to make sure that happens.
Not destruction.
That's right. That disaster happened on February 3rd. We heard nothing from the White House. Then the State of the Union happens on February 7th. Again, we hear nothing about this in the State of the Union. You have Kamala, who gives a speech on the environment, but yet nothing about East Palestine. And Biden has the audacity to speak about rail, one of his favorite topics. Remember, he told a fib about his Amtrak journeys, too. He's told that one multiple times. But no mention of East Palestine. You haven't had Pete Buttigieg go to the area yet. He was confronted on the street by a Daily Caller Foundation reporter this evening, and he had the audacity to say, "This is my personal time." The people of East Palestine right now, their personal time involves worrying if they have cancer. Some of them, or perhaps getting cancer in the future, some of them getting their own personal testing because they do not trust the testing of the federal government, of the EPA, and rightfully so. It is insane that the current president will not go there, but very good upon the former president, my former boss, President Trump, who's going there tomorrow to bring a spotlight to this town of forgotten men and women.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's an honor to be here. It's an incredible place and some incredible supporters and people that have worked with us for a long time. And we've been here for them. And even a few days ago, we had some of our top people come up, and it's an honor. And we're here today in East Palestine to show our love and support for our fellow Americans and this hour of need, and that's what it is. It was an hour of need, but they've done some incredible work in a very short period of time, and they're getting a lot of credit for it, and they have to be getting credit. We tell you that when they do good, and we tell you when people do bad. Your chief and your police and your mayor and everybody else, they've done incredibly. And Bill, JD's been here for 4 days. I've been watching him every day. JD Vance has been incredible. To the people of East Palestine and to the nearby communities in Ohio and Pennsylvania, we have told you loud and clear, you are not forgotten. You are not forgotten. We stand with you, we pray for you, and we will stay with you in your fight to help answer, and the accountability that you deserve. We'll have that accountability. It'll all be out there very clearly. Over the past few weeks, the community has shown the tough and resilient heart of America, and right here, we're standing in America. Unfortunately, as you know, in too many cases, your goodness and perseverance were met with indifference and betrayal in some cases. Biden and FEMA said they would not send federal aid to East Palestine under any circumstance. They're not going to send aid. I thought that was a strange statement because I've been working with FEMA for a long time, 4 years, and they were great with us with the tornadoes, the hurricanes, and things like this. And it was a strange statement to come out, and they were doing nothing for you. They were intending to do absolutely nothing for you. JD and I spoke, and they said, they're not coming. They're not going to come. And I said, that's very strange. FEMA said, specifically, this doesn't meet the criteria, and that's horrible, and somebody has to do something for those people. I said back, when I announced that I was coming, they changed their tune. It was an amazing phenomena. The mayor and I were discussing that. It was quite amazing what happened. And they said that we can't let this happen. That was a big change of pace. JD, did you ever see a change like that one? That was a quick, rapid change. But we can't let this happen, they said, and we'll be there. And we opened up the dam, and we got them to move, and they all came in, and they're now pouring you in with help. And I will tell you, I had a great...
The train disaster in Ohio has given Donald Trump a political opportunity, and he's jumping on it. He's going to East Palestine today. He's bringing with him thousands of gallons of cleaning materials and tens of thousands of bottles of water. It's obvious what he's doing. Trump is showing up the Biden team's weak response. Neither the president nor the transportation secretary have visited, but Trump is going to be there, handing out supplies to people in need. President Biden is rattled by all of this. He's still in Poland, shoring up support for Ukraine. He had to make a series of calls in the middle of the night to officials in Ohio, trying to show that he's on top of it. But he's lost the political initiative on this one. Trump will put on a big show. Ohio is Trump country. I don't know what he's going to say today, but he has very sharp political instincts. He knows how to contrast the billions given to Ukraine, but not to Ohio. He knows the unpopularity of Biden going to Kyiv in a war zone, but not to the disaster in East Palestine. For Trump, this visit is a major campaign event.
First tweet expressing concern for the residents of East Palestine a week and a half after the accident happened. In hindsight, was that waiting too long to express anything hours after you had addressed the makeup of work crews on highway construction projects just that very day?
The answer to your question is yes. I felt strongly about this and could have expressed that sooner. Again, I was taking pains to respect the role that I have and the role that I don't have, but that should not have stopped me from weighing in about how I felt about what was happening to this community. And there's no question that there have been enormous amounts of both information and misinformation injected into this situation, none of which is to the benefit of the community when it comes to that misinformation.
Did Norfolk...
So I lost my train of thought. That's what I had to say about that. That's exactly why we're here. That's why we've been here from the first hours of the incident as an administration.
The Secretary of Transportation came today. Do you think the visit made a difference? Not at all. Not at all. Just like every meeting that they are trying to have here, we never get answers. Everybody gets the go around. It's still nothing. They're not doing anything. I was told FEMA is supposed to be here numerous times. There's still no FEMA anywhere. I just don't understand. I don't understand why they're saying that they're going to do it and then they don't.
Are you?
Seems to be a trend around here.
Well, I've noticed, but your most pressing concern has got to be the question of whether it's safe to live there, since you live there, and I guess you probably don't have a winter house in Palm Beach, so you're going to stay there. Do you know if it's safe to be there? I mean, has anyone explained that? No, you don't know.
I don't know, but I did hire Scott Smith, who's been taking samples out of the creek in my backyard before they decided to try to dilute it so that we couldn't get samples. But those samples were sent out. Those samples are being tested for dioxins and vinyl chloride and multiple other chemicals, and they are not being sent to anywhere near Ohio or Pennsylvania. They're being sent elsewhere in the country. And here soon, I'm hoping the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to have results sooner than later. And then we can actually find out for sure what is actually in that creek and how toxic it really is. Because as you can see, like, I still don't sound the way I did the last time we talked, and that's because I've been here for a couple of days and it's affecting my voice at this point. I sound very raspy and it's harder to breathe. And it was such a nice day today. It was 70 degrees. I walked outside and I sat down. I wish I could say I took a breath of fresh air, but that's not the case here.
Right.
It still smells. It smells horrible. My creek is terrible. It's just like a gas chamber that we're in.
Fox News host Tucker Carlson got the green light from House Speaker Kevin McCarthy to look through hours of Capitol security footage from January 6th. Here's Tucker talking about it himself.
And January 6th, of course, is a transformative event in this country. It's been used to change the country. So there are about 44,000 hours. And we have, you may have read this today, been granted access to that. And we believe that access is unfettered. We believe we have secured the right to see whatever we want to see. So we've been there about a week. Our producers, some of our smartest producers, have been there looking at this stuff and trying to figure out what it means and how it contradicts or not the story that we've been told for more than 2 years. We think already that in some ways it does contradict that story. And so we're going to spend the rest of this week taking a look at it, assessing it as honestly as we can, and we're going to bring you what we find next week.
But what I didn't know until just a few hours ago, and I guess Angela Davis didn't know either, it's apparently Angela Davis's hometown, too. You remember Angela Davis. She's the communist who's been an active communist in the United States since like the 60s. And apparently, according to Henry Louis Gates Jr.'s PBS show, Finding Your Roots, apparently Angela Davis is related to the Pilgrims. Oh, that is so rich with irony.
That is a list of the passengers on the Mayflower.
No, I can't believe this. No, my ancestors did not come here on the Mayflower.
Your ancestors came on the Mayflower.
No.
You are descended from one of the 101 people who sailed on the Mayflower.
Oof. That's a little bit too much to deal with right now.
Did you ever, in your wildest dreams, think that you may have descended from people who laid the foundation for this country?
Never.